All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the MSDW podcast. On this episode, we are talking with Bob McAdam and Jeff Goldstein about an upcoming event. They're going to tell us all about it. Its initials are WWMSTUG. They will tell you what that stands for and a whole lot more. So, hi, Bob. Hi, Jeff. Welcome.
Hello. How are you?
Jason, good to see you. How are you?
Yeah, it's been a while. So good to see you both, and thanks for joining me here. So, yeah, I want to dive right into it. What is this event that we're planning? When is it? You are planning. When is it? And kind of where did it come from? So I thought that's where we would start. What's the event all about, and where did it come from? Jeff, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jason. So, this is the Worldwide Microsoft Technology User Group virtual event, and it'll take place on April 14th and 15th. And we're very excited about this event. And really, this event came as a result of a need from not only our users who are using Microsoft products, but a lot of other partners' users. So we felt that our users have communicated that there was a need for, updates in technology, training, and with Microsoft releasing so many new products and features out into the marketplace, it was just very overwhelming for our users, and they were constantly contacting us to get educated more and more on all of these new technologies and products. So the majority of our customers are Microsoft Dynamics customers, but they're interested in other things like, what is the Power Platform? How can that help them? What is Azure? How can Azure help them? What is Microsoft 365? What is Office 365? So with the technology landscape changing so quickly, there was a need for education and education to the user community. So our users came to us and said, hey, listen, Jeff, we're starved for information here. Can you help us? And that was really the impetus for putting together this event, and was speaking with other partners. They were getting the same feedback from the users and the user community.
All right, that makes sense. I guess the thing I'm picking up on there, because there's many different events that go on all the time, and what sounds unique about what you're saying is the perspective of partners sort of managing the relationships with their customers and supporting their customers, and the needs that they have, and maybe the commonalities between those needs among different partners, huh?
Right, exactly. So it wasn't cost effective for two associates by itself to put an event together of this magnitude, because we couldn't cost justify it for our customers. But when you take into account the entire Microsoft user community, then you can easily justify it. So that's why we ended up putting together this event. And really the key here is multifaceted. So not only us, but other partners have clients that fit into three categories, and especially as Dynamics partners. One, we have Dynamics partners who are on on-premise solutions that want to stay on-premise and they want to leverage that, but they still want to leverage the other technology such as Microsoft 365 and the Power Platform, and they can do that without migrating to the cloud. And then we have clients who do want to do a full migration to the cloud, and they want to move 100% to the cloud, and they're unsure how to do that and what that means for them and what they'll have to give up as a result of that. And then we have clients who want to go with a hybrid solution where they might want to take their hybrid solution, move on to Azure, and then leverage everything else that the Microsoft Cloud, has to offer. Furthermore, not only will that event help expose our user community and the entire user community to non-Microsoft Dynamics products, but it'll also expose other users who are not using Dynamics to Dynamics products, so that they could see how they work interchangeably with other products that they may currently be using right now in the marketplace.
Okay. I mean, so who is involved? Sounds like you've been coordinating with a range of different partner organizations, resellers primarily, or is there some involvement by ISVs like Bob's organization?
Great question. So when we received the feedback from these users and we came up with the idea of putting together this user group virtual event, I knew nothing about it. I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to do this. So I reached out to the user community and I was introduced to Bob. And Bob has done this before. He's an expert in this. So I immediately partnered with Bob and said, okay, Bob, let's work together on this. I know what our users need. You know how to put on the event. Let's work together. So I said, now, how do we do this? How do we do this from a technology standpoint? So then he brought in two other organizations to help us. One is Marketing Monarchs, and that's John Rivers to help us market this event. And the other one was LLTV to do the technical production for this, event. So it really is, myself, then Bob, then John Rivers and LLTV, working to get together here to produce this event.
Yeah, Bob, I guess we should mention you and a bit of your history. You have well, if anyone doesn't know, a long history of organizing events and user groups and sort of community organization, right? And for anyone who doesn't know, can you maybe give a little bit of a history?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Bob McAdam. I spent almost 8 years with Dynamic Communities, and the last 4 of those 8, I was running GPUG, the user group for Dynamics GP, and I was really involved with GPUG from the outset, which was going back to 2007. So I've been involved with user groups for a long time, but GPUG's been kind of my baby for a long time. And here in North America, Dynamics GP has a strong following, and the group really grew nicely, and we garnered a nice tight-knit family along the way. So I was really privileged to be a part of that. So when Jeff reached out to me, he's like, we're going to do something a little bit different. I obviously the dynamic stuff and the Power Platform tools are important and people want to learn about all that, but there's so many other integrated things that we could also include in here. So he gave me a list and we went through it, and I'm like, okay, well, for 2 days, you're probably only going to get 3 or 4 sessions per topic, but you'll cast a really wide net in the process. And we'll cover a whole bunch of different things so that literally millions of people around the world who are using these integrated products will have an opportunity to pick and choose what they want to get better at that they're currently using, or maybe what they want to look at that they haven't started yet. So it's a pretty unique event. It's got a wide range of topics, which is really interesting. It's not just Microsoft Dynamics or Microsoft Platform. It's so many other things, all of which are integrated nicely. So it's unique, and I really like that aspect.
So what's gone into the, session selection process? Did you go into it with, you mentioned some very important themes, things that are on the minds of a lot of vendors, a lot of customers. Did you sort of form the program or the session planning around some of that?
Yeah, somewhat. We did set up a portal for people to submit their ideas. And let's face it, I've been doing this long enough where I know a lot of the players and I know what they're good at. And I know the areas that excite them that they want to present on. So a lot of times if I could get someone, let's say Andrew Good at Liberty Grove Software to talk about BC, or Belinda Allen to talk about Power BI. I know that they're experts in those fields, and just about any idea they bring to the table is going to be a good one. So I spent time going through all the portal suggestions, and, we talked about them internally as well. And, there are a lot of really smart people in the Microsoft space, many of whom are partners, but not all. And they want to present topics for this show. And it's really been enjoyable going through all the content that was submitted and determining what can we put together here that's really going to make the very best show for this inaugural event. It's a real juggling act, but I do kind of like that. Usually with a user group, you're looking at one application and a bunch of modules or topics within that application. This time we're looking at a dozen plus different applications, something that's not been done before.
Yeah, that's been one of the big changes, I would say, in the last couple of years. Trying to attack any one company's needs from the perspective of one application has become less and less relevant, I would say. And Jeff, you touched on this. There's, I think from Microsoft's perspective, the business applications are getting more and more granular, and they don't really seem to want to group them anymore. They want companies to almost think of them, which sounds nice for Microsoft. I think it's more challenging for maybe Jeff for a company like yours as a partner, trying to help an organization make sense of that.
Right, exactly. So it's almost like Microsoft is selling apps now, okay? And they want people to select the appropriate apps, and the assumption is that all of these apps work together. Only nobody knows how they work together, and nobody knows how to put them together, and that's where the user community is, struggling. So that's what we're trying to educate people on: is what apps are there available, what works with each other, and what tools are there out there to enable us to integrate all of these apps so everything can work together seamlessly and without just thinking about business apps or dynamics, but looking at Microsoft as a platform and leveraging the entire platform to become more efficient and make their organizations efficient. And this is especially more important now that COVID had hit and everything is everybody is working remotely here. Now we have to become more efficient. So things that we did manually before, you can't do that anymore. So everything has to be, automated. That's where we're seeing RPA. That's where we're seeing Microsoft, Flow. We're seeing Power Apps. And the paper is, we need to get rid of the paper. The paper is no longer acceptable. So things have to be sent electronically. They have to be scanned. They have to be routed for approval. They have to automatically be input into the system, processed, and payments have to be sent electronically. No longer can you, print checks and have people route it for 2 signatures and, put it in an envelope and put it through the snail mail and, take it to the post office. It's virtually impossible to be able to do that. So this pandemic, fortunately, has caused us to be more efficient and has forced people to, automate. So people who are on the fence about moving to the cloud and implementing RPA and automation now have no choice. They have to do it. There's no there's no other acceptable solution here. So that's the whole idea behind this conference, is to help our user community and let them know what tools are available and help them automate so that they can become more efficient. We're working remotely here, and this is going to be something that's going to be here for a long time. So this isn't changing anytime soon.
Coronavirus has forced digital transformation on people better than any CIO could have ever dreamed of doing, right? So, and you got to give Microsoft credit.
Absolutely.
They were well positioned for cloud computing before this coronavirus nightmare hit our shores. And quite frankly, our AV contributor, LLTV, was also well positioned to do virtual events the way they do them before coronavirus hit. So we're working with a couple of specialty vendors, Microsoft and LLTV, to bring this show and really leverage in the coronavirus world, because we're not out of this mess yet, really leverage the power of cloud computing across multiple applications at a time when businesses large and small need to leverage it.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about what some of the virtual experience priorities are, or what maybe some of the highlights of it are? Because that's one of those things, as you go to different events and different meetings, different platforms have different strengths and
right.
Things that the audience is going to get out of it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's a couple of things that are going on now. So several of our clients now have moved from, brick and mortar and B2B now to B2C, and they're selling online on the web, and they're selling through, Amazon. So they need automated ways to integrate their ERP system, with web stores and be able to receive orders, electronically and process them. And it's a much higher volume than what they were doing before. So when they were selling, direct to, B2B, they were just, several large shipments. Now they're doing tens of thousands of orders per day, and they need to be able to automate their systems to be able to process those transactions and to be able to get them out. So with the new release of the Microsoft Commerce module, that provides a tool for our clients to be able to integrate with e-commerce applications and be able to sell through online, web stores. The other thing that is huge is, OCR. And that is being able to scan documents as they're coming in. So instead of having people mail invoices, they're sending the invoices in, electronically. They're getting scanned. They're being routed for approval. Then they're automatically being input into the system without, manual intervention, and even paid electronically. So those are the two biggest areas where we're seeing the need for, automation there, Jason.
Well, what about what I was also thinking of there was just like sort of the in event experience, like what features of the when you go
Oh,
to this virtual event, what kind of things will users be able or attendees be able to do?
well, I'll let Bob explain that, but we're getting an overwhelming response to this because people are locked up in their homes. They need a psychological out from their home, and they want to get into a community, and from a psychological standpoint, it's a they need this experience. Okay, so this is their out. This is their out of their quarantine environment and gets them associated with the real world. But Bob can tell you what the experience is going to be like and how the event will be, run. But it essentially is going to be a very efficient, conference. And when you think about being able to attend, several sessions without having to get on an airplane, leave your family, pay travel expenses, time out of the office, and do it from the comfort of your home, it actually is very efficient. And I think that we're going to see more and more of this even as the pandemic winds down and we get back to a state of normalcy. I still think now that people have started working from home and started attending virtual events, things that normally were unacceptable now are becoming acceptable, and people are realizing that it's much more efficient than what they did before. So I'll turn it over to Bob to explain how the experience will work, but the experience is truly efficient.
Yeah, so LLTV is going to record the sessions, approximately 40 minutes, 45 minutes for each one. And then the speaker will come back on and interact with the chat right there in the room. And, if you have some really well-spoken folks who are at the session and they're able to type in their questions and or answers or have a discussion with the speaker, they can certainly do that live after they're done. So, back at Dynamic Communities, I was convinced when we were going through this whole coronavirus thing that the only way to do a virtual event was to do it live. And that was it. You went out and bought your overpriced platform and you made sure everybody was on at a certain time. And then, I was introduced to LLTV and they said, look, we can record 2/3 to 3/4 of each session slot and then have the speaker come on later, or speakers, if there's more than one, come on afterwards and integrate with the chat directly on live recording or on a live presentation if there are questions in the chat afterwards. And I watched it a couple of times myself, and I thought, yeah, this really is good. The quality is good, and the sponsor exposure is excellent, and it's efficient. It doesn't have to be all live all the time. And I was convinced. So that's when I said, okay, I can work with these guys. They know what they're doing. Again, they were well positioned before coronavirus for virtual events. And it's fair to say that while we all do need an in-person gathering one of these days, because I'm tired of looking at these four walls around me all the time, the fact of the matter is virtual events have earned a place in our event marketplace. So having virtual events for people who don't want to travel or maybe aren't comfortable traveling is worthwhile. So a nice balance, and this event will be 2 full days. You can pop in and out as you need to. And if you miss something, it's all being recorded because LLTV is big on video assets, and you can catch it later when it's convenient for you. It's a nice system, and it's well designed and well executed.
And we should probably mention just more details about sort of the model of the event. It is a paid to attend event, but there's a bit of a wrinkle to that if it's as you work with as an attendee work with your partner, right?
Correct. Yeah. So Jason, one of the things that we're doing through our sponsors is we are making a limited number of free passes available. And if you go to our website, WWMSTUG.com, and you go to the sponsor page, if you click on any of those sponsors, you can apply for a free pass. All right. So we have a limited number of passes. Go to the website, WWMSTUG.com, and you can apply for a free pass. So we are allowing people into the event with the assistance of our sponsors. So our diamond sponsor for the event is Ingram Micro. They've been huge supporters and they've been helping us, and they've offered to put on speaking events and presentations. So we're very excited about them. Our platinum sponsor is Microsoft. So we will have several presenters directly from Microsoft. And then we have several gold, silver, and bronze sponsors who will be supporting us, including MS Dynamics World. So Jason, thank you very much for your support. We're truly excited about this event, and it is purely an educational, event. And the whole idea is to educate the Microsoft user community, both for Dynamics and non-Dynamics products. For those of users who are not using Dynamics, we want to introduce them to Microsoft Dynamics. For those people who are using Microsoft Dynamics, we want to introduce them to the Power Platform and to Azure and Microsoft 365.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much. Well, we're looking forward to doing some coverage and learning more about the event and seeing what various sessions are going to be highlighted. I know there's at least some of the agendas up and some of the speakers are up, but I guess with a month to go or so, that's going to be building and developing further as we get closer.
We will have this wrapped up very shortly. In the coming days, there's a couple more spots to fill, but you're right. We have some excellent speakers, and if you go out to our page, WWMSTUG.com, and look under the speakers, you will see a lot of familiar faces, excellent, diligent subject matter experts who love what they do and are really good at it. So I've had the pleasure of working with most of them before, so it was easy to ask many of them to make a contribution to this inaugural event and help us kick it off.
This event comes in sort of, a landscape where there's people have sort of a certain amount of attention they can put on events and webcasts and so forth throughout their day, throughout their week. Any other observations you've had about sort of how the community has shaken out in the last, I guess at this point in the last year? I mean, some big changes, obviously, with all the virtual events. We're seeing sort of the way user groups are being managed is changing, the way sort of communities are forming and changing. The big one, I guess, would be sort of Microsoft's new role in user group oversight, I guess you would call it. I don't know. Any other any thoughts about that from either of you, and any other trends that you're seeing and that you are sort of working alongside with this event?
Well, the big thing is there's just a need for engagement. Okay, and that's it. And everybody really wants attention. Everybody wants to be engaged. Thank God both myself and Bob have been involved in this community for, so many years. We have so many contacts, so it's easy for us to network. I can't even imagine trying to enter this, community as a new person and trying to navigate your way through the Microsoft ocean and knowing who is, who. So the hundreds of people that, and maybe even thousands of people that myself and Bob have met, all have been through, conferences over the years, and we've developed relationships with these people, and we see these people, every year, and we became friends with these people, and we still are friends, and those are relationships that we've built up over the last, 30 years. Now it's a whole different, game here, and to meet people, virtually is, much tougher, and you have to make an effort, but with that said, there's also positive. So as you know, I'm the former IAMCP America's president, U.S. president, president of New Jersey, sat on the IAMCP, international board. And, I traveled probably more than anyone. I did over 200,000 miles 2 years ago in 2019. And I attended events, across the world, but that was a struggle. Not everybody has the opportunity to be able to do that. But now, sitting from my desk at home, I can attend events in any city I want, without having to leave my desk. So it's much easier to be able to do that. Whereas before in the past, that would never be, possible. So at night, at 9 o'clock at night, I can attend an IAMCP, a Women in Technology event, just by clicking on a link at my, desktop. I don't have to get on a plane and fly to Seattle to be able to do that. So while, you lose on opportunities of the face-to-face contact, you actually get additional opportunities to be able to participate in more events because there's no travel involved, and you can just do it from the comfort of your home.
Yeah, Jeff, you're famous for the one-day cross-country trips, aren't you? It's like same-day cross-country. I've heard about
Yes,
those.
I've done that. Yes, I've done that.
I thought I traveled a lot in 2019, but he's got me way beat. Man, oh man. So as far as how things are changing, so obviously I have opinions on that, having been knee deep in the user groups of late. And the one thing that I'll point out with all the news that Microsoft is essentially taking over D365 UG and Power Platform UGs. The one thing that's bad about that is now the independence, will be lost. Dynamic Communities was always independent of Microsoft, and that's a nice element to having a user group. It's nice for the members to be associated with a group that's independent. They want to learn from Microsoft. There's a lot to learn from Microsoft, but that independence piece was important, and I don't think it's going to be there going forward. But we're independent of Microsoft. Jeff and I don't work for them. I never have. He never has, as far as I know. So we're going to be able to invite some of their speakers and other partner speakers who are subject matter experts and get a very well-rounded view of all of the different applications we're going to cover. I mean, it's not just, as Jeff said, for Dynamics users or those who want to figure out Power Platform or Azure. I mean, let's look at something like Microsoft Teams, which now has 120 million plus daily users, which, if you think about it, is crazy. But they do. It's built up really, really quickly. And a lot of companies or a lot of individuals are probably looking at Teams because, let's face it, it's had tons of improvements lately. And I guess they're going to allow webinars through there pretty soon as well with your existing license. So, if you're a company that's growing and you're looking at Teams because you don't want to do GoToMeeting or Zoom anymore, you want something that's more secure, well, then you can come to the Worldwide Microsoft Technology User Group and get smarter on Teams with our speakers. And maybe that's worth the admission price by itself because you're going to make a big change internally and you'd want it to be a good one.
Yeah, just on Teams, they're going from 500 an entitlement for 500 environments to 10,000 environments. Microsoft's just sort of bumping that number up because I think they say the momentum is so great there that for enterprise organizations, 500 is not enough. Presumably, that's coming from demand from very important customers. I would have to guess.
Right.
But yeah, like you said, I mean, it's a huge number that is getting involved there, and I think it is a gateway into some of these other technologies.
Yeah, no question. It's growing like crazy, and I feel like there's not enough information out there on a topic like Teams. So I kind of felt like it was a no-brainer to include it.
All right, and for those listening, how can people get involved, get more information on the event?
Jason, it's easy. Just go to our website, WWMSTUG. If you're interested in speaking, there's a speakers page. You can fill out an inquiry or contact us there. If you're interested in participating in the event, you can also register at WWMSTUG. And if you're interested in sponsoring, same place, WWMSTUG, and on the sponsorship page. There are a limited number of free passes, which I mentioned before. If you go to the website, click on the sponsor link, go to any one of our sponsors, you can apply for a free pass. So it's that simple, Jason. And we're looking forward to seeing everybody on April 14th and 15th at the Microsoft Technology User Conference virtual event.
All right. Well, Jeff, Bob, thank you both so much for being here.
Well, thank you, Jason.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
For your help.
Yes, thank you. And for your sponsorship as well. We appreciate it.
Yeah, great. We'll talk soon.
Very good. Thank you.
Take care.